Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. As I sit here on my desk, I'm looking out. It's such a gorgeous day here in Madrid. Even if it's freezing cold, this is why I love this city. We're in the midst of winter, and it still promises us around 300 days of sunshine a year. Freezing cold, but beautiful sunshine and blue skies. Life is really lovely here in the city. Those are the parts I love about here. And on that lovely, happy note, today I want to talk about why having no budget kills your wellness plans and the 3 steps you can take to revive it. Here is what I'm seeing right now. As wellness is gaining traction worldwide across all industries, everyone wants a stake with wellness. In the whole wellness pie, they want a share of it. And when it comes to hotels, we see more and more hoteliers wanting to embrace wellness. And there is that genuine belief that it is part of what they do. And they want to also tap into this wellness conscious consumer. And they have invested in a strong wellness leader. And they know that both the wellness leader and the owners know that in order to take their wellness offering to the next step, in order to overhaul it rather, they need to get some external help or external direction. Not because the wellness leader is not strong enough. It's more because they need that kind of external vision. Sometimes we get so stuck in the weeds that we need someone else to help us. And that's perfectly normal up to there. So then what happens is they recognize that they are not tapping into the full potential of wellness. They recognize that they need external help, or they would like external help in order to perform even better. So you have the wellness leader that reaches out to all these wonderful external professionals. They get the proposals, but guess what? They didn't have a budget in mind. So when they get the proposals, suddenly they think that they don't have the money or it's too expensive to make the overhaul they were looking for. The end result, wellness gets stopped on its tracks. So any plans to better the wellness offering aren't implemented. And that is what I would like to address today. Because, if we take a step back and think about it, if you have spent $7 million on building your wellness facility, but what you've done is you spent all that money on the build of it, but you have not put a budget aside to actually make that wellness facility work. If what I am saying resonates with you, then you're not alone. And also, you are leaving money on the table. And today I'd like to show and explain why that happens. And I'd also explain how the Essence framework can help you actually get your wellness offering off the ground, or rather the rehaul that you are looking for. And if we take this, one step back, I also want to share today the 3% rule that I see top boutique hotels follow to avoid spinning their wheels. So you see this catch-22 situation where you want to overhaul your wellness offering, you want to take it to the next level, but then you suddenly think, I don't have the money for it, or I don't know what budget to put aside. So today I'll be talking about that 3% rule, and I will also be talking about how my Essence framework gives you that blueprint to ensure you get the success with your wellness investment. But before that, let's take a step back and look at the situation. We did not mark a budget for wellness. Hence, no budget means that our wellness plans, we don't move forward with them. Here is what it looks like from the wellness leader's perspective. So you finally got the green light to turn your wellness offering around, but there's no defined budget. You've not been given a defined budget, nor have you put aside a budget or thought about what that amount could be. And instead, you gather proposals from different experts. When you get them, it all seems too expensive. And you always find that these proposals have such a huge range. From one proposal to the other, there's a huge difference. So what ends up happening is management and ownership stall any kind of wellness plans, and you are left trying to do the same old method again, but you're trying to produce results that are impossible to produce given the method you've already used. And what happens eventually is that wellness does not give the results they were hoping. And because wellness doesn't do that, it's automatically for them a wellness leadership problem. And hence they bring someone else in, probably another wellness ninja. But what ends up happening is that wellness ninja still does not have a strategy. And if you're doing more of the same, you will always get more of the same results. And wellness will continue to underperform. And that is from the wellness leader's perspective. Now, if we look at what that looks like from the boutique hotel owners, I get that. So you, let's say, have invested $3 to $5 million in creating a wonderful wellness facility. And now you're asked to spend maybe another 100, 150K on a strategic overhaul. It feels too high because really what wellness revenue represents is only a tiny slice of the overall hotel revenue. And on top of it, the headaches that are required to make a full-blown spa facility actually work in proper condition, that's just cost after cost. So you find yourself stuck in this catch-22 situation. You want to differentiate your property using wellness. You want to tap into the more wellness-conscious consumer. You believe in them. But the return on investment isn't clear. So these two perspectives lead to wellness with no budget and any kind of future plans getting stalled. And here's the problem. Without a proper budget, you will continue to see your staff leave. There will be that continuous churning of staff, that continuous battle for talent. You will continue to have an inconsistent messaging in your marketing. And you will continue to deliver underwhelming guest experiences. Now, even if you think they're excellent, they will still be bland and nothing very different from the hotel next door. So what ends up happening is you burn time and money, but your wellness facility never lives up to its true potential. On top of that, there is that opportunity cost. So each month of maybe next year, or we can't afford it right now, or I'd rather do this in-house, it leads to tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in missed revenue. And all the while, your competitors are charging ahead with solid strategies, while your wellness facility sits underutilized. So what I want to do is introduce what I call the 3% rule. And this is where I brought up the 3% rule. So I know I've been in this industry now for over 20 years, and every time I am preparing the profit and loss or the budget for the next year, you will always find that I'm putting aside 3% of total revenue, of wellness revenue. I'm putting that aside for routine capex. So routine capital expenditure, any kind of routine expenses that are needed to keep the wellness facility in top notch. Now, if you say that you're taking 3% of revenue, and let's say you get your return on investments, if you invested $10 million, you're getting that return on investment, let's say 15 years. So if you're putting aside 3% of your total revenue each year, you're essentially putting 3 aside of the cost of build, just to maintain your facilities in good working condition. Now, why not apply that same standard to wellness strategy? So if you have spent $3 million in building your entire wellness facility, putting aside 90K of strategic budget isn't a luxury. It's how you ensure that multi-million-dollar spaces thrive. Now, when I was looking through different stats or looking at different industries, what are they actually spending in terms of strategy? Despite having a top CEO or a top GM, what do they spend with external coaching, external fees, external strategy? Now, you look at the luxury car industry. Owners are spending typically between 2 to 4% of the cost of the car. So, what the car costs them annually on maintenance during the entire lifespan or however long they have the car. If we look at high-end real estate, management fees run at around 3 to 5%. So spending 3% on your wellness strategy simply aligns with normal operating costs in other luxury markets. But here's the thing. As wellness professionals and as hoteliers with wellness offerings in our hotels, we never apply this 3% rule that we see out there. Now, just imagine if you invested at least 3% of the cost of build of your entire facility to improve guest experience, to get higher occupancy, and to increase your revenue. Can you see how you will get your return on investment quite quickly? So the question isn't, can we afford it? But how much is it costing us to not invest in a proven plan? So you might be asking, this is all fair enough, Sonal. So how do I make the most of this 3% budget allocation? Now, here is where my essence framework comes in, and specifically the 3 key pillars that I talk about: certainty of purpose, discipline of focus, and seal of difference. So if we look at the first step, so once you've taken your 3% aside of your budget, what you're going to do is identify what I call the first step, certainty of purpose. What is that? Identify your core goal for wellness. Now, it doesn't need to be something moral and amazing. What are you using wellness for? There is no right or wrong answer. Are you using wellness to elevate guest experience? Are you using it to boost ADR? Or are you using it to enhance your reputation or tap into a different type of clientele? It doesn't matter what your goal is. What matters is you define that goal, because you can't map out a budget if you're unsure what success actually looks like. So when you propose, when you have a purpose that is rock solid, you can translate wellness into tangible metrics. So things like guest satisfaction scores, the increment in food and beverage revenue, the increment in ADR, or the increase in booking rates. So making it crystal clear for all your stakeholders why they should invest. So when you have that certainty of purpose, when that purpose is rock solid, it makes it crystal clear for everyone involved why they should be investing that 3% of their budget in the strategy of wellness. Once you're clear on your certainty of purpose, the next step is the discipline of focus. So what is discipline of focus? What do I mean by it? Once you're clear with your purpose, why are you using wellness? What does it mean for the hotel? The next thing is to prioritize, because you can't fix everything at once, especially if you have something that's already up and running. So focus on the 20% of activities that will produce the 80% of your results. So that could be staff training, signature treatments, whatever that goal is. Find your priorities. Then, when you, this level of why does this matter? This discipline ensures that you keep your newly allocated budget from spreading it too thin. You invest in the highest impact initiatives first, and that will ensure your early wins and a faster return on investment. So, the first step to ensure that you are maximizing that 3% of budget that you have allocated for wellness strategy. Once you're clear on your certainty of purpose, what is the goal for wellness? The next thing is you define your discipline of focus. You prioritize what are the areas that you're going to fix. And once you're clear on that, you enter into the third phase of seal of difference. This is where you're creating your lasting competitive edge. Now, this is always about your how. It's never the what you do. So it's the how you're doing that what that your hotel next door cannot easily replicate. And that matters because when you have a true differentiation, when you have a point of difference, so you're not just a carbon copy wellness facility. What is X brand doing out there? Let me copy paste it. Once you have your true difference, and that's always the how, your guests are willing to pay more for an experience with you. They're willing to stay longer, and they're willing to also return year after year. So this is that seal that cements your reputation and justifies your budget on an ongoing basis. So what I wanted to do today was to just explain, if you want to rehaul wellness, that is all amazing. But you must also put aside a budget. And to know what budget you put aside, sorry, excuse me, that's 3% of budget. Sorry, to say that again. You're putting aside 3% of the total cost of build of your wellness facilities. And that is that provision you're going to put aside to ensure that your wellness business actually works. Because it is senseless to spend millions of dollars in building a beautiful facility and then spending about 3% in maintaining them in fantastic working condition, but not putting any money aside to actually make those facilities work, to actually get your return on investment. So remember the 3% rule, and how do you ensure that you are maximizing that 3% budget? Certainty of purpose, define your wellness goal. 2, discipline of focus. Focus on the 20% of things. That will give you the 80% of results. You can't fix everything that is broken. And lastly, your seal of difference. It's never the what, it's the how. How are you doing things in a special way that solidifies your difference? And with all those 3 steps, you have ensured that you have maximized that 3% investment. And on that note, I wish you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.